it's the first time we will broadcast this on the internet after we have recorded it. And there's been some questions since regarding the 10 perfections, the 10 parameters, and the phenomena of Pativeda. I'll go through systematically, but I'll just say before we start that the best description in the text is in this book, written by Bhante about something else actually. It's written about the Brahmajala Sutra, which is Digha Nikaya number 1, which is about the 62 different kind of wrong views. But as a part 4 of this book, there's a commentary included from the Charya Pitaka, which also has a canonical test, the basket of doings. And in this commentary, all the 10 perfections is explained in a treatise which is around 60-70 pages. I have extracted this and will go through what I've extracted from it, but you can read it. You can read it from yourself if you like to. We just go through the 10 perfections in detail now. They are, I could just say that before one's become enlightened, one has to perfect these 10 perfections in different degrees. But at least for 100,000 eons, that is 100,000 universal cycles, that's a Savaka Bodhi, that's disciple, enlightened as a disciple. Second degree is a Pachika Buddha. They take at least 2 eons, 200,000 eons to perfect these mental perfections, little by little, gradually, life by life. Thirdly, real Buddhas, Samasam Buddhas, they take from 400,000 eons to 1,600,000 eons to perfect these. So they perfect them to the 3rd degree. If we take the first perfection, just to make a kind of like a taste of what that means, what that entails in difference between the disciple and the perfectly self-enlightened Buddhas, then it is that we say that the disciple, when he gives to perfect the dana parami, the mental perfection of generosity, of giving, then he gives all his possessions, including his wife and children, away. While a Pacheka Buddha, a solitary Buddha, he gives his eyes or a limb, or for example a kidney, something from his own body, he gives away. The perfection of for a Samasam Buddha is that they give their life away. They give their life to somebody else. I'll go through the case, what the last Buddha, Gautama, he did when he gave his life away. It's a story worth telling. So you can see there's a marked difference in a degree of giving away. But I'll just take before we go to giving, which is the first, our generosity, dana, parami. Before we go to that, I'll just read out the 10 of them in one row. The first is generosity, dana. The next is morality, sila. The third is withdrawal, nikama, or renunciation, somebody says also. The fourth is understanding, panya, or wisdom, somebody will say. 5 is enthusiastic energy, virya. 6 is patience, patience or forbearance or tolerance. 7 is honesty, satya parami. Patience is kanti parami, the perfection of patience. Determination is number 8, atitana parami. And friendliness, metta, is number 9. And equanimity is number 10. But just to start with dana parami, just as a water pot is turned upside down, it leaves nothing back. Just so is this dana parami. One doesn't give to anybody special. One gives impartially to everybody, whether worthy of gifts or not. There's some saying about giving. What's the karmic return of giving that is worth knowing? Yes, one can say, first of all, in general, on the other side of death, what will you meet there? You'll meet the echo of your own actions and nothing else. This entails that if you have given nothing, then there's nothing materially to you on the other side. You have to work for it yourself. So it's important. It's kind of like an investment also from a purely egoistic point of view. It's like a karmic bank account. Whatever you give, it'll come back on the other side. Also, it'll come back in this future, in this life. So it's important to give. Otherwise, you'll become poor in the future. Giving away doesn't make poor. It's not giving away, clinging to your own possessions, that makes people poor in the future. So, as a rule of thumb, who should you give to? If there's some, the purer they are, the better. That's the purity of the receptor I speak about here. So let's say you give one lump of food to a dog. It's just approximate numbers here to get a kind of like a feel of touch of the echo of the return. If you give it to a dog, it'll come back to you, this lump of food, 1,000 times over several lives before the karmic echo is exhausted. If you give to a thief who steals food, then it comes as 1,000 times as 1,000. There's 1,000,000 times back. If you give to a donor who also gives food, then we say it's 1,000,000 times 1,000,000. That's 1,000 billion times the lump of food or whatever you give, it'll come back. So as from an investment point of view, giving is extremely good business because it comes a minimum 1,000 times back. 1,000 times 100% return in interest rate. I don't think there's any banks that can compete with that, huh? Or investment in general in the physical, economical world. If you give to a noble, we say is asankaya, what has come back, a noble disciple. So if you give to it means basically infinite. It's not infinite. It is finite, but it cannot be calculated. It's incalculable. Asankaya, incalculable. If you give it to a Savakabodhi or one of the great disciples, then it's infinite times infinite. It comes back. If you give it to a Pacheka Buddha, then it's infinite times infinite times infinite. It comes back. If you give it to a Pacheka Buddha, it's infinite times infinite to the 4th. And if you give it to a Samasambodhi, it's infinite to the 5th potency. So it is extremely valuable to give to a Buddha or a noble, is asankaya, then more valuable than to give to a dog or a thief, for example. But still there is some effect, good effect in giving to a dog or even give it to an ant or giving as much as there's left on your plate. Any kind of giving will count, the Buddha say. So where should one give? One should give where one feels a happy heart about giving. That's important. There's a story about this. It was a man, it was King Pasenadi, at the Buddha's time, he came back to the Buddha in the afternoon. And then the Buddha asked him, why do you come back here in the afternoon, King Personality, and visit me? It's because, Venerable Sir, I have been driving out gold for 7 days and silver for 7 days from a very rich man's treasuries. And he died. And he had no trillion. So all his treasuries, they went to me. Now I come and ask you to one thing, because they told me that he never ate good food or wear nice clothes. He ate broken rice, and there was his clothes was patched, and he never repaired his house. So it was a kind of like a broken down house, and he never gave anything away either. But he was exorbitantly rich, exorbitantly rich. How can that be? He asked. Then the Buddha looked back in this particular individual's past, and then because of this event, 7 lives ago, and he's been a millionaire, a seti, forever since these 7 lives. He was also a millionaire, a seti, and he was on his way to the king to discuss a loan to the king. So he met a Pacheka Buddha, a solitary Buddha. And they are kind of like going hempen clothes. They have black hempen clothes like that, and another hempen clothes like that. They have a leather belt, and they have an earthen bowl around because they fly around. They have beard, two fingerbreadths worth, and hair 2 fingers, so they're not shaven like monks are. So the rich man, he saw this monk and asked him, you got any food today? No. The monk said. He couldn't, of course, recognize him as a Pacheka Buddha. He didn't know. He said, then you can go to my house and get the food that was meant for me. Where else, sir? Said the monk. And then he went on his way, and the rich man, he went to the king and discussed the loans. Then he came back from there. Then he saw the monk again. And then he said, did you get food? Yes, I get the food. Thank you, sir. But then the rich man, he saw he was unshaven, and he said he thought to himself, this is a shabby monk. He's a bad monk. So he regretted giving it, saying to himself, I should have given it to myself, or I should have kept it, or given it to my waiters, or given it to my wife or to my children. I should never have given it to this bad monk. But he had already given it, so he couldn't take it back. So the result of that was, since he already have given it, and since it was an extremely pure person, a Pacheka Buddha he given it to, only next to the Sammasambuddha, he had become a millionaire for 7 lives. But his second karma was to be dissatisfied, unhappy with the giving. And because he was unhappy with the giving, he never became happy for his own riches for 7 lives. And he never gave anything away either. So the Buddha furthermore told that now he's exhausted his giving, and he will fall down to Abhaya, the fearful states, which means basically animal or lower than animal. So it's important one has joy by giving it. One think it's a good place to give. Then there's 2, one can say receptors, one can say indulgence. That those who are needy, they can be poor, sick, whatever. They need something. This one, as one receptor, a group of receptors, one can consider. Then on the other hand, there's those who are worthy of it. Can be monks. Ideally, it can be nobles. Ideally, it's a Sammasambuddha. He's the most worthy one. And Arahant, the word Arahant simply means worthy. So they are most worthy of gifts, these nobles. And in the ideal case, an Arahant, but it's difficult to find today. So that's more or less it. Then one can consider giving much is better than giving little. The purity of the gift also means something. If you give something you have stolen or misappropriated, then it's less worth than if it's something that was not stolen, of course. But giving a thief who gives what he has stolen is better than he don't give it. so it still counts as a positive karma if you give something stolen away. However, I cannot recommend that, of course. Then there's a purity of the giving process itself. Then it's regarded more better than you give with your own hands, something that you have made yourself. For example, food. If you cook the food yourself, it's better than if it's something you bought in the supermarket. It's better to give with one's own hands than to send a waiter or a friend or some go-between to do the giving. So ideally, one gives something one have made oneself with one's own hands. One give it with a devout heart and being happy about this giving. I think that covers more or less the ground. So there's the purity of the gift, there's the purity of the receptor, there's the purity of the donor, that's this happy heart and full giving. There's the purity of the giving process, giving with own hands. The purity of the receptor is whether he's noble or not, worthy or not, needy or not. I can just say, for an illustrative story, that when I was 35, long before I became a monk, I was sitting at a cafe in Copenhagen. I remember this as clear as it was yesterday, even though it's more than 15 years ago. And we were discussing politics, and I complained about people being too bad. They never gave anything away. It was my argument. And then somebody is in this company, we were discussing this politics. He said, but what have you given away? He said to me. And then I thought about it, and I was shocked by the fact that actually, even though I was a medical doctor, I was well-to-do, I could give something. I'm not giving much away. I have difficulty mentioning something. I paid my tax and so on, which is a large amount in Denmark, but nevertheless, I'm not giving something directly. Unless the event demanded it, for example, presents at Christmas or birthday parties or so on, where it is socially expected that you give something. So looking at myself, I suddenly realized I myself have not given much. So I decided to kind of like repair on that one. It was a very formative event for me that somebody asked me up front, what have you given? And you can consider for yourself, what have you given in this life? Because only what you have given in this life is for you on the other side, in the future. So better repair on that one, I would say, in general. And everybody has something to give. There's one more thing. In what proportion to your income should you give? It depends. A rich man should give a lot, and a poor man can give a little. Some dirty clothes can be enough if a poor man doesn't have anything to give. But 1 million kroner can be too little if you have 100 billion as a billionaire. So it depends upon it. Why is that so? The coming effect? Because actually it's not the giving or the gift, it's the relinquishment of the gift. Before one has to can give the gift away, one has to relinquish, stop clinging to it and say, okay, I don't need this, I can give it away. Or I need it, I will give it away anyway. So this clinging, this detachment, it's a mental thing. Detachment from the object. And thereby you can give it away. That's the thing that counts. And that has to that has to be more for a millionaire than it has to, obviously, for a poor person. So that's the case. I don't think I'll say more about giving. We'll go to the next one, morality, which is the second perfection. And that's, we say, one should watch this as a yak tale. And the story goes like this: if a female yak ox is caught up with her tail inside a bush, a thorny bush, then she'll lie down and die there rather than getting her tail torn. because it's kind of like a status symbol for female yak ox. So it stays there instead of getting her tail torn. And the morality issue is one should keep it clean, like a clean sheet of white cloth. It should not get spotted, should not get ripped in the side, so there's small threads falling off or sticking out. It should not get pierced with holes, small holes, slipping through there, small gray lines, for example. One should stay with these 5 precepts as a layperson the entire life. The Buddha's perfection about this was a tremendous. He would offer his life rather than step over any line of these 5 precepts. We say it's the lifeblood of the Sangha, of the community of the disciples. It is this, whether you keep these precepts or not. It's the sila parami. It's the lifeblood of the community of the disciples, of the Sangha, of the Sasana. It has to start there. All the other things, the higher philosophies, meditation and so, it comes after. One has to purify this morality, sila parami, first. So that's important. You can basically say, if one should say an old melody for how to make merit, how to make probability to elevate in the future as a layperson, the melody goes like this: Dana, Sila, Bhavana. Dana is the first perfection, to give to those worthy, to give to those needy. Sila, morality, keep yourself clean, moral-wise. Bhavana, do meditation and Dhamma study, reflection. The Bhavana just means development, becoming higher, becoming more pure, becoming more than human, becoming a better human. So this is an important perfection, this one. How one do that, then it leads to the 3rd perfection, actually, because you discover it's difficult along the way to keep the precepts and to stay completely pure. They say as a polished conch shell, like a shell, has this like an oyster shell inside. It has kind of like there's a mother of pearl on the inside of an oyster shell, and if you polish that, it will shine. They did that in the old days. So they say it's difficult to keep your life pure as a polished conch shell inside while you're a layperson. Therefore, you have to withdraw. You have to withdraw to the forest. Nekkhamma. Stop doing, stop planning. So that's the 3rd perfection, is to withdraw out of society in order to purify oneself. Involvement, engagement, it's a kind of like a binding. It's kind of like a spider who binds himself into his own net, or a person who takes a rope in his mouth and then turns around. So he's binding himself more and more and more and more. He gets entangled in the society, and thereby find it difficult to disentangle and purify himself. The 4th perfection is understanding or wisdom. It's to obtain certainty, assuredness, confidence. Faith is not enough. Faith is blind. You have to know it for yourself. You have to be independent. Independent on the books, independent on the teacher, independent on the teaching. We say about a stream entrant, one who has reached the 1st stage of nobility, he's 25% enlightened. He has less than 7 lives left, and he cannot overstep the 5 heinous crimes. He cannot be reborn as a dog or an animal or lower. If you take such a person and put him on Mars in a space station where there's no other beings, and he cannot communicate with anybody, and he doesn't have any books with him, no teachings, no videos, no nothing. He can enlighten up there in this space station all alone, by himself, by his own manpower. Why is that so? Because he reached this 25% enlightenment. So he knows it by his own heart. Even if he's reborn, he still comes into with some knowledge, some understanding of what is right and wrong, what to do, what not to do, what is necessary, what is required to go further up in degrees of freedom as a conscious being. He is, technically speaking, what we call independent. And that one has to develop some degree of one's own understanding to do that. Just as a monk, he goes from house to house without overstepping anybody, without leaving a house untouched, because then he will steal their ability to gain merit. So also a disciple, he asks everybody. He asks those who are not so clever. He asks those who are medium clever, and he asks those who are very clever. And all the answers he gets, he considers. From the person who's not so clever, you can learn something about what not to do, how not to do things, how you should not do. And from the very clever, you can learn how to do things better. And on your own level, one's medium is kind of like the pragmatic person is of medium intelligence you can ask. In whatever case you can consider. So it's asking questions that leads to wisdom, leads to understanding. It's not only book knowledge. One has to get a kind of like a personal response. Doesn't mean that necessarily that one has to follow whatever advice one gets, but one can consider it, and will get some angle on it. Seeing with many eyes is better than seeing with only one eye or two eyes. So how do the other looks at it? One will learn something about it. So this one should ask. If one doesn't ask, one doesn't get any response, any answers. That's the wisdom, the understanding. This is the fourth mental perfection, Panya Parami. Then there's an enthusiastic energy, Virya. Virya is a root word of virality or masculinity, you can say. Virile, to be virile means to be very potent in a masculine way. So it's very energetic, very forceful. So I just consider my notes here. It's said by this that a man, whether he's sitting down, lying down, standing up, walking or running, then he uses all his effort. So one should consider this parami, this Virya parami. It's for the sake of the welfare of all persons, all beings, all conscious beings, that one takes this responsibility on your shoulders and say, okay, I will make everybody happy. And to do that, I have to muster some effort, supreme effort, heroic effort. It's here I can become a hero. It is to muster more energy and enthusiasm than I've done before. So one doesn't give up. A good model is how to train. A shining deva one came at night and asked the Buddha, a devata, female deva, you could call female angel. And she asks the Buddha, How did you do it, Venerable Sir? How did you cross the flood of sensuality, the flood of ignorance, the flood of craving? And then he answered this, that he neither stood still, nor did he run. Because, she said, it's like crossing a river, flowing river. If you start running, then you get swept away. Because when you run, you have to move your feet from the ground of this sweeping river, and then it'll sweep you away, because you don't have you're not grounded at that particular moment where you're in between steps in the running process. On the other hand, he said, if I stand still, I would sink. Why is that so? Because it's digging out the sand under your feet if you stand still, because of the strong stream. So you're basically sinking slowly. That goes the same for in the karmic process. If one stands still, doesn't replenish its good karma by some other good doing. Remember again, good doing, dana, sila, bhavana. Dana, giving, sila, morality, bhavana, meditation and study. If one doesn't repeat that, then one sinks. Well, as we say as a doctor, this patient is losing height, we say. It means like an aeroplane that is kind of like, it's still in the air, but it has no more fuel. So it can glide, but eventually it will crash because it's losing height. So one is basically losing height. If one does nothing, one will lose height by oneself and exhaust one's probability for getting a good rebirth, little by little. On the other hand, if one does something, one will little by little go higher. How to go? Yes, not to run is important. It's kind of like walk. I call it steady Eddie. It's to be steady in one's effort. Not too fast, then one becomes tired and gives up. One is exhausted. Now I have to rest. Now I cannot do anything more. I cannot meditate anymore. I cannot study, blah, 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 blah. So one kind of like, one trains like that, stop, and then goes a little bit back. 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, because of pushing too hard. So once you kind of more like steady, doesn't go back, just steady into one effort. Not giving up, not running, not standing still. In between is walking. Walking is just, you can do it forever, almost. If you get food and drink, you can do it forever. So that's a good way of mastering this video, which is the 5th. Then there's patience, forbearance, tolerance. Number 6, Kanti Parami. Kanti Parami is important. There's kind of like 2 issues here. It's the same mental quality. It means that you can endure, then you can take it. That you doesn't, whether there's verbal abuse or violent abuse or whatever kind of external conditions is thrown upon you, you can take it. You doesn't lose your temper or go into sorrow or start weeping or something like that. On the other hand, so this is external conditions. We could call that tolerance. If somebody is abusing, that's also some forbearance. One say, it's okay. I pardon you. It's okay. The second issue is internal issues. One becomes tired or impatient or wants to hurry or give up or is in doubt or feels pain or frustration or whatever internal condition that is dislikable, then one can endure that too. That's also tolerance. That's also patience. It's one, basically, it means that one stays with the object, whatever the object may be, pleasant or unpleasant, external or internal, material or mental. One stays with the object. One doesn't run away. Chicken tail, huh? One doesn't run away. One stays with it. Stay in it. Hang on in there, as they say in tennis. Huh? One keeps hanging on in there. Even though it's difficult, one still hangs on in there. This is an ability one has, because you cannot do anything without meeting problems and adverse circumstances. It's impossible to go through life, and in particular to purify a noble life without meeting problems. Problems will come, of course. So one has to endure these problems to come over the hill. And then on the other side of the hill is more smooth sailing. Still, you have to do an effort, but it's more easy. So one has to endure coming over the hill. Imagine on a bicycle, for example. If you're going over the hill, it's difficult to go uphill. But as soon as you come to the top, it's easier. Same thing with this Kanti Parami. The Buddha, he once told his son, Rahula, that he should train like the earth. He should be like the earth, the solid earth. Why is that so? Because the solid earth, it doesn't resent anything. If you throw on upon it excrement or a dead corpse or spit or urine or whatever, doesn't react, the great earth. You can throw anything on it. He furthermore said that his son should be like water, because water, it can purify anything. It can wash away excrement, saliva, urine, and it will wash whoever. It will wash an evil person, it will wash a good person. The water doesn't resent that. He should be like fire, because fire will also burn anything. It'll burn a rotten corpse. It'll burn excrement. It'll burn anything. So he should be like fire. And he also said he should be like space, because space also can accommodate any horrible event. Space accepts that it's a scene of any horrible event without resenting it, without pushing it out, pushing it away. Doesn't do that. So he should make him like these four great elements, of earth, solidity, of water, fluidity, of fire, heat, and of space or air, akasa. He should be like that. He should make his mind like that. And that's something to think about when you are perfecting this patient karmi. Some circumstances are good. You can say about all circumstances, whether pleasant or attractive, alluring or repulsive, difficult to stay inside. They are all good training grounds for training your mind. So if they are very repulsive, you can train this Kanti Parami. But also if they're very attractive, you can stay, hold on here. So any kind of circumstance, any kind of external circumstance, any kind of internal state or condition, including cancer or having a heart attack or being insane or depressed, or having a divorce or losing all your money or whatever it is, difficulties at the workplace, difficulties in the family, difficulties with your spouse, children, whatever, it's a good training condition. That's the right way to see it. That's forbearance. That's Kanti. There. You recognize this situation, and it's triggering this or that way. I say, how fortunate, how happy I am to experience such a good training ground for my mind training. How to deal with that. Instead of making yourself a victim, victimization I see very often, and then fall into self-pity. Oh, how pitiful for me, blah, 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 blah. Then you're unable to solve the problem, unable to purify the mind. As soon as this victimization happens, it's game over. Then there's only self-pity left. Self-pity is down. This was forbearance. Number 6. Number 7 is truthfulness, honesty. This is a difficult one, but one has to do it little by little. Look at what you say. Look at what you say before you say it. Look at what you say while you're saying it. Observe what comes out your mouth, and also what you're thinking to yourself. Are you lying to yourself or what? And observe what you have said or thought after you've done it. So to be sure, there's no dishonesty or bending the truth slipping in there. It's a difficult one because one tends to kind of like cover up something, typically cover up one's own mistakes. And if one can say something that will improve one's own condition or states of future, then one kind of like bend the truth in that direction. One shouldn't do that. Just keep it straight. Just tell it as it is. Tell it as it is. That's strength. However, there's this about secrets. Other people's secrets, you protect, you keep hidden. Don't give out secrets that you have learned about from other people or their private matters. That's their private matters. Don't tell it to anybody else. What about your own secrets? Expose them. So you expose your own secrets, but you keep other people's secrets hidden behind your back. Protect them until they are ready to, themselves are ready to expose their secrets in the public domain. Another issue is to think about, if I want to hide something of my own secrets, if I cannot expose it, see, this is what I've done. This is what I've said. This is what I think like that. I do like this. If one cannot do this, why not? What's the matter there? That one should be suspicious about this, that you cannot expose your own state. We say about this, our brothers here in the order and the nuns also, that it's a quality if they expose themselves as they are. They don't hide anything. And actually, when we come out of the retreat, we just done that, the rain retreat, then there's what we call the invitation day, the Pavarana day. There we ask the Sangha, the other beings we've been in retreat with, if I've done something, if it's seen, heard, or suspected that I've done something wrong, then please tell me. I invite you, the Sangha, to tell me if I've done something wrong. If it's seen, heard, or suspected that I've done something wrong, please, out of compassion, please tell me. This is if you're in the rope. We train like that. Not leaving any stone unturned. What about if you're a layperson? Then you should be brutally honest with yourself. Brutally. Don't let anything undercover here. So, I can just cover a little bit up. No. Rip it off. Rip it off. Be thorough there. So you expose it. Because you'll gain by it. Sometimes it's painful. It's shameful. But if there is this shame, if mind feels shame by exposing something, it is because there's something wrong with it. You can be sure about that. Has nothing to do with the other's reaction. It has something to do with the mind's own evaluation of whatever is being exposed. It says, I cannot expose it because it's wrong. So I feel shame. So I keep it secret. So it takes some courage. And that's the deal here. That's the job here. That's the name of the game, to expose it. And to be honest about it. First, you be honest about it to yourself. Then you be honest about it to somebody else. At last, you can be honest in every situation. And it's there the innocence come in. There the joy come in. Because if you have no secrets, there's nothing hidden on your back. You don't have to protect anything. Oh, if they see this, if they see that, blah, 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 then I so fear. So if you see kind of like a person who have done many things wrong, If he comes into a big audience hall, then he's very shy. He wants to kind of like hide along the corner because he don't want to be seen. He don't want to be exposed. One person once told to another person I know that he was so afraid of going on this, that he's told so many lies and did so many bad things, that he was afraid of walking on the street because he maybe meet somebody that he have done something to. So he never went out in daylight. He only went out at night. So he was invalidated, you can say, or disabled by his own dishonesty. He couldn't go out and do shopping at daytime. Impossible. Careful here. The Buddha I just say, one have asked me, what is my religion? My religion is, of course, Buddhism. But Buddhism is not only a religion, it's also a philosophy. It's also a praxis, a way of life. But back to the honesty, the Satya Parami, the mental perfection of honesty. The Buddha, he fulfilled that to the 3rd degree. And again, we see here the recognition about this giving to the 3rd degree, meaning you're putting your own life on the end. I just say by Dhamma Parami, I missed a story there. Sorry. Dhamma Parami, the Buddha, his middle perfection was to give his own eyes away to one who was seemingly a beggar, who came to ask him about it in a former life. And the Buddha was then a king. He was called King Sivi. Then a beggar came up to his door in his castle and asked for his eyes, and he gave them away. This beggar was not the beggar, he was king of the 33, is King Saka, who has disguised himself and came to test the Buddha, whether he would do it or not. In another life where he was an animal, a hare, like a rabbit, a hare, then he has 2 friends, and they also animals, other animals. One was the partridge. I think the other was a monkey. I'm not sure I remember the story correctly. But nevertheless, they were living there in the jungle. Then a beggar, a priest, a recluse in India at that time came on. And then the hare, he sat down and make a fire. And then the hare, he jumped into the fire to give to the beggar as a food, because then he would die, and then it became roasted. Then it was a roasted hare, then the beggar could eat that. And they say that's the reason of the hare in the moon sign, that if you look up at the moon at night, you can see kind of a hare, look like a hare or a rabbit running, actually. And it will stay there as long as this aeon endures. The Satyaparami, the Buddha, he reported later on that his perfection in an earlier life was the following. He was taken prisoner together with 60 other persons by a cannibal, and he stored this person. He ate one person a day or something like that. Then he stored the other prisoners by threading a rope through their hands and then hanging them up alive. So they were hanging in between the trees there in the cannibals' yard outside in the jungle. And then the Buddha, he said to him, I'm a king. I had to give up my kingdom away. So why don't you let me loose? Then I'll go back to my mother and father and my son, give my kingdom away, and then come back tomorrow. And then, of course, this cannibal, he didn't believe him. He didn't believe him. But nevertheless, he had a lot of other meat hanging there in the garden. So he set him free. Then the Bodhisattva, he went back to his family and put his kingdom in order and gave it to his son. And then the next day he set out to go back to the cannibal who would eat him and kill him. He knew that. Huh? So he put his line on the end, his life on the end for that. And the cannibal, he was so shocked by the fact that this king came back and actually in full innocence was ready to die, was ready to be eaten, stretching forth his hand when he came. So he became a pupil of this, disciple of this young king. And then he set all the other free, the other persons free also. So the Bodhisattva, he saved his own life by this honesty, by the force of this honesty. And he also saved the life of somebody else by this very forceful honesty. He came back. He didn't stay there. He could stay at home, never go back into the jungle to the cannibal. But he did not. Why not? Because he's promised to do so. So he stayed put with his promise and came back. That was his 3rd degree perfection of Satya Parami, of the truthfulness. I just see on my notes here. I just say there's some, I think I could give some links here. Show item. How do I do that? Add an item for a website. Yes. Here. I just show some links about the 10 perfection. You could go through. There's all these things. I hope you can see that. Nevertheless, we also say that this Satya Parami is like staying in, like the moon, around the orbit. It's circling around. It doesn't stray away from its orbit to some other direction. It stays in this orbit. So also should one stay in this orbit with Satya Parami, with the perfection of truth. One should not go away from that particular orbit. One should stay put there. Stay put there. And if we back one out with Kanti Parami, when one should be able to bear that other people is slandering one. One should bear and accept disgrace and disrespect and aversion from other people by enduring them. One should keep doing that. Yes, I put a link up. It's called Mental Perfection. There's a lotus flower. In that link is all the links to all the other things I've written about the mental perfections on my website. It's good to go through them. It's just some of the notes I use here. The 8th perfection, about rock solid resolution, or unshakable determination, adhitthana. There the Buddha say they are relentless in their work for others. They keep working. They keep working. They don't spare anything. As a comparison, one could say one should be like a mountain. A mountain also stands in many circumstances. Sometimes there's scorching sun. Sometimes there's heavy wind. Sometimes there's a rainstorm or snow is covering up the mountain. These can be compared to circumstances one can meet in one's own life. The mountain doesn't waver. It keeps standing where it stands. It doesn't waver. It doesn't break up. It doesn't run away. It stays there with it. And same thing with determination. One should be like this. One should be rock solid like this mountain. In one's work for welfare for others and in one's work for purification of oneself. One should never give up. Never give up. Even if you die, you don't give up because of dying. You stand up on the other side, next life, whether it's as this or that form of conscious being, and then you work more. Why is that? Because that's the only way to ascend, to get higher degrees of freedom, and eventually to become enlightened, to reach Nibbana, the deathlessness. That has to be done. It has to be done. So there's no other thing. There's no other way out of suffering. There's no other way. There's only this one exit. If one thinks there's other ways, try them first. Fine, no problem. You can use many universe on that one. But if you're in a Buddhist path, on a noble path, then one should stay there as the smiling mountain that goes. So this is seventh, or eighth is adhitthana, determination. Determination. Being like a mountain. Then there's the ninth, is friendliness, metta parami. Difficult not to smile. Metta parami means goodwill, friendliness, that you are gentle towards other, or friendly disposed, even to your enemy. The Buddha's perfection to the third degree of that one was once he was a king. In a small, there was a lot of kingdoms, like in Europe, also in India at that time. And so they were always in war and invaded each other's kingdom to get the other neighbor's kingdom also. Was more city kingdoms, have one city and then some villages around it. Not very big. So he was invaded by another king. And then he was hanged upside down first, together with his son. And then afterwards they were digging down in the earth, with only their head above the earth. And it was the meaning, it was in his own castle yard, he was digged down. And there was the meaning was with that he was be trampled down by an elephant. They will push an elephant to walk over them, and then they will be smashed. Their head will be smashed with an elephant walking on them. So a very brutal form of execution. The rats are running around on the roof. Nevertheless, the Buddha, he was not angry with the other king. He stayed friendly towards the other king. And he stayed so friendly towards the other king, even though he was digged down together with his son. And he was within an hour or two of being executed. The other king became so impressed about it that he was not angry, that he asked him about it. And then the Buddha answered that it wouldn't help to be angry in this situation. On the other hand, it'll only make it worse. So the first king, he decided, he was so shocked by this, that he could see that the Buddha, he spoke the truth, the Gautama Bodhisattva, in his former life. So he digged him up and gave him his kingdom back and apologized and went back to his own kingdom. Became his friend. So this is a very important thing. Those who said the Buddha, he says it in Dhammapada 1:2, that those who say, the others say they beat us, say excuses. It's important to remember this in these terrorist times. Huh? The others say beat us, they shoot us, everything. So we are entitled to do evil towards them. No. You can only overcome evil with good. You can only win over hate with love, with friendliness, with goodwill. There's no other way. If one reacts aversively towards hate, then it grows into a big fire of hate, of conflict, killing and maiming. And if you succeed killing somebody else, then there will be revenge. And revenge. So it'll be like a vendetta in Sicilian, in mafioso language, a vendetta, where it's tit for tat killing. That's very detrimental, very disadvantageous. One should stay with this goodwill. It's better to let them other people kill you and stay with the flowers in your hand than becoming angry and taking up the gun. No guns. Stay with the flower. Flower of power. Huh? Very forceful. Very forceful. It takes force to stand there with your flower. It reminds me of Mahatma Gandhi, the great person of India. He made one of his first scoops was to make a salt marsh. The English, they have a monopoly on selling salt, which was made by the sea. And so they earned money. The colonists earned money on that. Then Gandhi, he said, that's too bad. It's India's salt. How can English people make money on our salt? So he started walking towards the sea to make a protest for that. And millions or thousands of people, they joined this march. And actually, I think there was many thousand when they arrived at the sea, at the salt marshes, where the English soldiers, they were protecting it. Then they went up to the English soldiers, and the English soldiers decided to beat them down with sticks. Then Mahatma Gandhi says, it's okay, they can beat us down with sticks, but we don't give up anyway. We just come again. So they make a long row of people, 3 at a time. It came up, and 24 hours, they have to beat them down with sticks. They get one stick, so bleeding their head, and they go back into the queue. Then they have to get another stick, in this stick in the head, to be beaten down. They didn't give up. They never protest. They never fight. Eventually, after some days, the English gave up. They decide there was photographers there from the press arriving after several days. They couldn't start shooting the protesters, and the protesters just keep coming. There was an endless row of Indians that wanted salt, as little as that. Salt for your egg, salt for your food, necessary, huh? Because of this non-violence, ahimsa principle that Mahatma Gandhi, a lawyer, he applied there. There's some goodwill in this non-violence principle. And this civil obedience, sit-down protest, huh? Not violent, not yelling, sit down. That he actually overcame the English colonialists, even though they had guns, because they were overpowered by his goodness and by the determination of his followers, which again was dependent upon his goodwill. He was not angry with the English soldiers. He just had this opinion that was true. This was the Indian salt. It was not the English salt. So the Indian people should have free access to it. It came from the sea. Huh? So he won a war by goodwill, the Salt War, the Great Salt March. And this example we should take. It's a good example. Don't give up on goodwill. Then you lose the whole thing. It's running down you. You're throwing the baby away. It has to be there. It has to be there. One should be utmost gentle, kind, benevolent, and teach and serve others that. That's important. Just as water refreshes and cleanses unjust persons without discrimination, so does the perfection of friendliness include both friends and foes alike, and doesn't display any distinction, favoritism, or partiality. So one is friendly with everybody. One, how to practice on the pillow. One starts to be friendly with those you are well disposed towards. Your friends, your children, whoever you love, your spouse, your parents. Then some neutral persons, could be at workplace, then when you're skilled at that, you take up the difficult object. It's to be friendly towards those who are hostile towards you. The terrorists, the evil boss, the angry spouse, the irritating children, the naughty children, whoever, the opposite party, political party, that your political party, the other team, the other football team, or whoever it can be, the other religious, those who are from the other religions, for example, the Muslim religion. Goodwill, 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 goodwill. I'll ride with you was an example, huh? I'll ride with you was this hashtag that somebody in Australia, right after she's seen a Muslim woman, she was afraid to go into a train. And then one other woman saw her on the train station, and say, don't be afraid. We know you're not a terrorist. I'll ride with you. And so she went into the train with this Muslim woman and protected her against others' opinion, against this discrimination. Because of course, it's a very small minority of Muslim people who are terrorists. Very small. The rest are not terrorists. Huh? So one should have goodwill towards these persons, then it will fade away. If one starts to fight, push, even in your mind, even in your heart, the whole thing is lost. It's an important issue. Conflict dies right there with this goodwill. How can somebody else fight you if you don't fight? If you smile with your flower? Then there's the last, number 10, is equanimity, upekkha. It's a very tricky one, but also very rewarding mental perfection, parami, upekkha parami. Upekkha is also means some neutral feeling. It's neither sadness nor gladness. It's neither pain nor pleasure. It's neutral feeling. It's not a cynical indifference. It's an imperturbability that you cannot be perturbed. You cannot be disturbed. You cannot be agitated by anything. It's a balance that it cannot go out of balance. It's just stay balanced. Stay balanced, grounded. It never moves. It never moves. If one is aware of it, then it's experienced as peace. Very pleasant, very subtle, very agreeable. It's a kind of subtle happiness. It's not happiness, but nevertheless is felt as something that is happy, because peace has this pleasant touch to it. Soft, calm, steady, stable, safe. This is upekkha parami. It doesn't become whirled up by anything. It just stay there. Again, it's just the example given here. I can see it's just as the great earth remains unmoved, avoiding both like and dislike, whether one throws pure or impure things on it. Even so does the perfection of equanimity consist of remaining calm and composed, neither being repulsed or attracted by any pain or any pleasure. Imperturbable in strong conflict as well as in strong or in great success. So whether it's something that is attractive or whether it's something that is repulsive, one doesn't react. One just looks at it. Say, what is it? What is it? And evaluates it. Say, what can I do? What's advantageous to do here? Just see my other notes here. It's not being disturbed by worldly fuss. And equanimity doesn't expect anything in return for anything. So it just stays there. This covers up the 10 perfections. But again, go through the website. I give you the links. And there's these examples. There's links to all of the perfections covered in great detail. One Dhamma drop for each perfection. If you read through that, then you'll get a feel of it. Then repeat the 10 perfections for yourself and say, okay, that's the working ground here. I had to perfect these 10 perfections before attaining enlightenment, at least to the first degree. The first degree, what if we take Dana Paramis, will be covered if, or reached, or gained, if one is able to give everything away of one's possessions, including one's wife and children. If one can give this away, then this mental perfection of Dana Parami, is covered. Let's take them again, all the 10. The 10 mental perfections, Parami or Paramitas, are: 1. Generosity, Dana, giving. 2. Morality, Sila. 3. Withdrawal, Nekamma. 4. Understanding, Panya. 5. Enthusiastic energy, Virya. 6. Patient forbearance, Kanti. 7. Honesty, truthfulness, Satya. 8. Resolute determination, Adhitthana, Parami. 9. Kind and gentle friendliness, including non-violence, Ahimsa, Metta. 10. Imperturbable equanimity, Upekkha. Note that the last 2 is also what we call the infinite divine qualities, of which there is 4. So Metta and Upekkha is many things. It's a mental perfection, but it's also an infinitely divine dwelling. Brahma Vihara. Brahma, best. Vihara can mean a house or a temple, but it can also mean a dwelling, somewhere you dwell. You dwell inside the house of friendliness. You dwell inside the house of equanimity, being imperturbable. Equanimity comes last because equanimity is what perfects all the other ones. So they enhance each other. Determination, of course, if you need some determination to stay honest and also to give. So they are working in parallel, but also sequentially, at the same time, simultaneously. So they reinforce each other. The more you understand about the karmic principle, that there's nothing on the other side of death if you don't give anything, then this understanding, the deeper it is, the more easy it will be to give, because you can see it's necessary to give. You cannot go through life being a miser. I'm keeping to my own things. It's a lousy thing, painful thing, now, later, and much later. So the understanding enhance the giving, the first one, the Dana Parami. So they work in parallel and sequentially. These few supreme mental qualities will terminate in complete enlightenment. There's nothing elsewhere beyond them. Be thorough, firm, and systematic in perfecting the mental parami, the mental perfections, completing them. So said the Buddha. And actually, right after his Bodhisattva wish, the first one, 24 Buddhas away, he made his first wish to become a Sammasambuddha before the feet of Buddha Dipankara. Then Buddha Dipan, he made himself into a bridge over a lying down in a water hole, a mud hole, so Buddha Dipankara couldn't walk over. And then Buddha Dipankara saw, this man, he's making a bridge out of himself for me to walk on, to step on. He must be a Buddha sprout, a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva means bodhi, means enlightenment. Sattva means being. So he's a being to become a Buddha in speed, a Buddha sprout, a seed to a Sammasambodhi. And then he made the predictions, told him, in this and that eon, you will be a Sammasambodhi just like I am now. Your name will be this and that. Your father's name mother's name will be this and that. Your 2 disciples' name will be this and that. The name of your horse will be this and that. The name of your 3 castles will be this and that, and so on. So he foretold everything. Then he went away with his monks. Then the Buddha Gautama, he sat there. He had another name, Sumedha. Sumedha sat there in the mud, and then he thought about what? He thought about, what are these 10 mental perfections I have to complete before becoming a Buddha? He thought about that. And then he dragged himself through. Again, there's this Dana Parami. It's number 1. What's the next one? It's this Sila Parami, this morality. What's the third one? It's this Nekkhamma Parami, and so on. He figured it out because he had learned it before. So also you should keep this in mind. By going through the links, you should solidify, cementify the remembrance of what these 10 mental qualities that has to be perfected before one can attain enlightenment. These are the keys you have to have in the belt, 10 keys to open the doors before you come through. I think this is enough. Then the other question today was Pativeda, penetration. What is that? Now I tell you something, or you can read it in all these books, these Dhamma books. This is theoretical knowledge, the level of theoretical knowledge, pariyatti. Very good. It's a starter. It's something that that one has to do. One has to know it first, intellectually. But knowing it intellectually is not enough. It's like reading the cookbook. It's not enough. You have to learn to cook also. That takes practice. Cooking it, making it wrong. Cooking it, make it a little less wrong. Cooking, make it okay, but not good. Cooking it again, making it good. Cooking it again, making it better than good. Cooking it again, making it very good. Cooking it again, making it excellent. Cooking again, make it perfect. So this period, next level of knowledge is called patipatti, means praxis. So it's the knowledge of a person who's not only have theoretical knowledge, he also has this knowledge of practicing it. It's like one who's quit smoking. He reading a book is good to quit smoking. That's so, but he's still a smoker. He's still killing himself slowly. Then he stops smoking. Then he gets the knowledge of the difficulties that is connected with this stop smoking. And it's not so easy. So it's another quality of knowledge. It's a step up, patipatti. The knowledge of those who practice. In between is a strong step. There was one person at the Buddha's time, and the Buddha, he scorned him. He made a university. He could say everything the Buddha could say, and he could remember it. And he was very famous, but he never practiced anything. So every time the Buddha, he saw him, he called him Empty Book. There's Mr. Empty Book. Why they call him Empty Book? Because he had only book knowledge. He didn't practice anything. So this book, Mr. Empty Book, he had a university, Buddhist university, where he taught Buddhism to everybody that would like to hear on him. And then in the end of his life, he became very discouraged because he had not reached any level of nobility. He realized that. And then he saw, I have to have a teacher. Then he went round to various monks, famous monks, but they all rejected him. Say, sorry, you can go to the next one and ask this monk, that monk. And then he walked at that from monk to monk to monk to monk to monk. Nobody said, yes, you can be my pupil. I'll teach you. They all said no, because he was too proud. He thought he knew everything by his book knowledge, but he knew almost nothing. He had some knowledge, yes, but it was book knowledge. Then he asked a novice, not fully enlightened monk, a young 17-year-old man, whether a male, he could be his pupil. And then this novice said, yes, on one condition. Yes, he said, what's that condition? What is that condition? You see that small pond there? Keep going in that direction until I say stop. Then this man, he was in white clothes and so on. He keep going towards the pond. And when he reached the edge of the pond, he stands still. Then the novice, he yelled, continue, continue. Then he went out into the pond until he had the mud or the water neck up to his neck. Then the novice said, stand still, come back. Then Mr. Empty Book came back, soiled, soaked wet, and with mud on over his clothes. Say, why did you do that? It was to test you, the novice replied, to see whether you could overcome your own pride. And you could. So I'll accept you as a pupil. So this is important to remember. Book knowledge can make you so proud that you cannot make any progress. This pride automatically becomes arrogance. Oh, I'm better than other beings because I have so much book knowledge. I'm so clever. I'm so very much Buddhist that I'm a better Buddhist than probably even the Buddha himself. This is what I often meet people on the internet that is like that, claims like this. They are so much in love with their own ego that doesn't exist in the first place. So they are in love with an illusion, the illusion about what they think are themselves. So when they have gained little book knowledge, they think they have touched beyond heaven. And that has to be taken out. That's an obstruction. Okay, last level. You practice along the way, become better and better. Then there's not one more non-linear shift up, where it suddenly steps up. The Patipati level itself is gradual. The Pariyatti, the theoretical level, is also gradual. There's a hell of a lot of study. There's a hell of a lot of practice, meditation, moral practice, giving practice, training there. But then suddenly one penetrates a certain degree. This is called Pativeda. This is the highest level of penetration. There one attains Panya regarding that particular aspect. If we should say about both Upekkha Parami and Sila Parami, that is mental perfections of Upekkha, equanimity, and the mental perfections about this morality issue, then it's when you realize in your blood, in your bone marrow, in all your cells, you realize, it's true. Beings are born of the karma. They are formed, conditioned, created, restricted, and adorned by the karma. They are owner, debtor, inheritor of the karma. Whatever they do, good as bad, only they will feel the later delayed effect and result coming back in the future. When you realize that this is not a belief, this is absolute truth, paramatta, satya, absolute truth, then you have reached penetration regarding that particular aspect. There's 84,000 such aspects that one has to penetrate through and see, it is so. It is actually just so, and not otherwise at all. This is penetration. After that, you never forget it. You never, even if you die, you don't forget it. You never disagree in it. It's embedded in your being. It's embedded in your mental continuity. It's assimilated completely into your being, and thereby also into your thinking, your mental karma, into your saying, your verbal karma, including saying something to yourself, conceptual thinking in words, and into your doing, your kaya karma, your actions with your body. I think this is enough for today. I thank you for your attention. I don't know why I don't hear you, but I don't. I'm sorry for that. I'll have to find out that next time. But we'll just take the last of the intro. You do the same. Namo Tasso Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa, worthy, honorable, and perfectly self-enlightened. This is the blessed Buddha. And I say the third time in Danish, my mother tongue. You should say the third time in your mother tongue. Er værdig, fuldstændig komplet og perfekt selvoplyst af den velsignede Buddha. Thank you for your attention. See you next Saturday.